So, and what is your like? You work at the university? Is the impression I get at a university?
No, I'm I've been doing this on my own for a while. Ages ago, I was working in a company doing a collective intelligence tool. And then what happened is I didn't like the direction they were going. I forked the tool, and then I went on a totally different theoretical basis. And then I needed money, so I started working for a research group who is called Discourse Graphs. They're doing structured conversation for research. They're a research group and they're working for other research groups. So they're doing structured conversation for research groups. But my interest, so my own theory is I've been doing on my own. And I was at the
Oh,
first company, we did work with more academics in it was called Temple was part of the
Is that
obvious
before
name.
Topic Quest?
No,
Uh,
before Topic Quests. A very obvious name like Synergy or uh, which it's not
right.
Synergy, but it's something like that. And anyway, it was a joint program with academics and industry working on collective intelligence tools, which is somewhere in my bio. And we did have a first format of a collective intelligence interchange format file in there.
Uh, and so, what's your background? Because
Catalyst,
all the
Catalyst, Catalyst interchange
Catalyst.
format.
oh, okay. Hmm. So you must have done some studies in the area to because all those topics sound quite academic. They sound quite
It's more my personality than my studies.
all right. You've just always been interested in
Yeah,
it. Okay, cool.
my studies were in mathematics, so ages ago. Didn't get
Yeah.
that far, but enough to. And I
I
studied
as
in system
well.
science after all.
I did mathematics back in the day. Never never made use of it apart from being going to data analysis. So
It's a
yeah.
frame of mind. I
Mm,
mean, mathematics is about distilling human thought about something in the most pith form possible and the most abstract form possible. And in a way, it's part of what we're doing.
mm, yeah, there's connections. Yeah, there must be a connection, right? Because it's talking to people. Yeah, it's
I
always
was doing mathematical logic, so it's a bit more clearly connected.
yeah, right. Yeah. Yeah, no, that was only like one subject for me. How's things, Joel?
Hello. I'm good. I'm good. How are you guys?
Excellent.
Excellent.
Not enough
Excellent.
sleep, but that's normal for me.
You're asleep?
No, not enough sleep.
Oh, not enough sleep.
This time in the morning it takes me a couple of hours to.
Oh, Lord, you're
Uh,
telling me I have a huge insomnia problem.
yeah, no.
But yep, that's life.
Struggle on.
Exactly.
Um,
Just
Exactly.
hated the world that always everyone wants you up by 9 o'clock. I'd love a world where you can have a bit more because I'm just a bit of a night owl, it's like I'll happily stay up to 2 a.m. Good morning.
So I invited Caio because we had a conversation this morning, and his work is very related to what I'm doing with hyper knowledge. And I thought he should be aware of the this community. I did warn him today might still be a bit more logistics than substantial discussion, but
yeah, I guess we'll see. I don't know if you saw Marc-Antoine, but I did revamp the Discord server finally.
I did
And
see.
hopefully
Hi, Tim.
I don't know if there's more to talk about there, but it's done. The deed is done, and we can keep
Yay.
refining it and stuff as we as we see
Yep.
fit. But
I invited Caio to the Discord as well. I don't know if you had a chance to introduce yourself. Do you want to talk about yourself? Normally, we start with a roll of intros when there's a newcomer. So maybe you should
yeah, we
start.
could.
Or maybe we should start and you should end in case other people turn up and everybody can hear you.
That's a good
But
idea.
you know about me, so it's okay. We've had that conversation. I'll have others speak.
I can go. I'm Joel. Hi. I'm working on an app called Ameliorate that is kind of about putting arguments into like grounding them within a cause and effect diagram. As I feel like, a lot of problems or discussions about problems, disagreements kind of come down to cause and effect. So I'm like trying out that strategy of organizing information. And I'm a developer. Uh, yeah, I've been working on the project for a while, still working on it, but happy to do these discussions about other tools people are working on. Always excited for that. So yeah,
I'll go. And so I'm Dale. Hi, how are you? Um, yeah, I'm also working on an app, and it's I call mine Natal Maps, and where I'm just basically it's related and connected to a lot of the other argument maps. So for example, Caio is kind of like has some similarity to that. Um, yeah, but I'm probably only about halfway before I could really open it up. So I haven't actually got anything to show people yet, but working at it most days. Yeah, that's me.
I think it's my turn. I'm the same. I'm a developer. My project is like you guys said. I've been thinking about it for like 10 years, but I've started developing last year, the end of, I believe, December. And I'm doing, it's an interactive hypergraph using logical and democratic systems to create consensus. So I take every affirmation, every definition, every reasoning for anything of the map, and I can create, let's say, a logic semantic hypergraph that integrates everything that has been said in the history of humanity, and it should filter by logical, by democratic vote, and by uh, other filters to allow people to see a graph showing exactly what each part means by each information, so people can, everybody can see every information separated by colors, by words, by definitions in a single graph. And my idea is, like Mark said, Marc-Antoine, I saw him speaking about systems like this that I'm doing in a meeting like this. But I believe his vision was the closer one to me. My idea was not inspired by him, but he seems to have a similar inspiration to mine. And I believe we are doing something that must be done, like each one of your ideas. I believe everybody should try to do their own version of the collective conscience that we can, so everybody can actually build something useful in a meaningful trajectory for the species. And I believe I'm doing the most complicated app I could think of. So I'm doing uh, a prototype with AI because I wouldn't try to learn about Olia, Hydra, RGF, D3.js, dozens of libraries that I'm using, and I couldn't learn it by. I mean, I would take 10 more years to develop the app if I would learn everything. So I'm using AI, and the idea is to create this hypergraph where every definition have uh, every topic have its own words, have its own definition. Each definition is composed of multiple relations, where this single point have a relation to other points, like a semantic map. But every relation have its own uh, subgraph. It's a hypergraph, so there are graphs inside parts of the graph, and you could expand the graph. This is going to make your graph bigger, but you're going to get the context of every part of the graph. You could then expand uh, your graph uh, basically infinitely, and you could. I mean, you need processing in RAM memory enough to do this, but it's impossible. So the focus on my project is to filter everything I can from every dimension of the communication, and we could create these single views, local views with multiple filters. And I was talking about how we could generate a consensus. Not everybody is going to want to create its own definition. People want to throw a chat. My car is the best one. My car is okay. My car is a machine. People don't want to define what car, what is, and what machines means. People simply want to write this. So I'm trying to create a standard map, which is going to be like a consensus. It's going to stabilize itself because the project the project allows us to create critiques. We can criticize each specific point of the graph, comparing two graphs, a graph and a subgraph, or two subgraphs. We can see if they are directly related, like if my car is a machine, have other topics which make a relation, but indirectly without a circular logic, because we can't have fallacies. We can use this as a quad, I don't know how we speak in English. And this allows us to uh, create a relation of every graph and subgraph based on the definitions implying logic statements, because the subgraphs are lists of statements, and we could take the statements and compare if a statement is directly opposite to another one or they can coexist. And basically it's like a dictionary of definitions. You can then create a logical system above it where we can say which definitions can coexist. Then we can vote the logical definitions. We can then use the logical voted definitions as standards to allow us to have a global chat. And we can basically make everybody use the a more standardized definition of words in a single chat. I think you guys can understand. Any doubts? I can't explain without the complexity of the project, but I believe you guys understood at least a part of it.
Yeah. Have you got any?
Um,
Oh, sorry.
yeah, I
Go.
guess I can go first. Well, we're still introducing ourselves, so I
Sorry.
haven't introduced
Oh my God,
myself.
I didn't. But I don't have an introduction. Actually, I'm a developer, like freelancer, and I went to college. I'm sorry, I didn't. I believe I heard Merrick, I know him, Joel, and I believe I've heard everybody know.
Not David yet, and not Tim.
Yeah,
Yeah,
No,
we
Joe
haven't
joined a
done
little
it.
late.
oh,
Yeah.
okay. I
Where are
didn't
you
see.
from?
I'm from Brazil,
But
Oh,
where?
from Paraíba, João Pessoa.
Paraíba. Eu estou morando no Rio.
Ah,
I'm American, but I live in Brazil, so I live in Rio de
é, João
Janeiro.
Pessoa is
I
close.
recognize your accent. I was like, yeah,
yeah.
okay.
Yes,
I
I
really
don't
like.
think
I really enjoyed Rio when I went there.
yes, real
That's very
good.
good.
Being in Salvador, not Rio yet.
They're both worth visiting for sure. David, you want to go or you want me to go?
Sh-
Doesn't matter.
Either way, I could go. I'll try to
You
be
go ahead. You go.
either way. Yeah. Yeah. So I'm David. I'm working on a kind of a debate app called Arborist, and it's just a platform for uh, collaborative like deeply nested collaborative conversations organized into kind of trees of points and um, yeah, kind of focused on reasoning and arguing and usually centered around two people arguing two sides of an issue while other viewers suggest points for them. So that's how it's kind of collaborative and give feedback. And um, and I guess in doing so, or I guess the reason for that is partially to help try to attract traffic by leveraging existing networks of friends and followers by centering around kind of more individuals. And then, yeah, and the canonical thing is a challenge when you're centering things around individuals. And that's like my short term, I'm not dealing with that, but long term, I'd like to just kind of um, allow everything, all the individual conversations to be linked. And so that could help with the canonical issue that anyway, that I'm sure I will run into. But anyway, to just uh, go on a little bit, it's got like a very unique interface designed for navigating through trees and nested points that I'm continuing to tweak and saves like history so you can see how points are debunked and it's trying to pinpoint where and why people disagree and force people to think more critically on issues. So yep, that's it. I've been working on it for oh, um yeah, a while. I'm more recently kind of trying to be more focused on it and even uh yeah, I was trying out getting paying someone to help develop because I have a full-time job and And I don't know, I guess, yeah. And it's funny because everyone's doing AI coding, and that's definitely a lot more affordable than a human being. But, I guess there's trade-offs. So, anyway, that's me.
I'm gonna be real quick because I have a visitor here, a guest now, so I'm gonna have to go. But I'm Tim. I'm the founder or a co-founder, depends on how you want to define it, of the Canonical Debate Lab, which all started from mostly developers realizing they had similar ideas about wanting to connect and solve debates, right? My view on that is mostly written up in the white paper, if you've seen it. Caio, I don't know if you've seen the Canonical Debate white paper. That's my thoughts as of like 10 years ago. Needs to be updated somewhat with AI, but it's mostly the same. Um, I think AI essentially just disguises a lot of the problems. It obfuscates even more. I mean, people know there's the dangers of misinformation through AI and bias, but the goal of the canonical debate is essentially to, as much as possible, remove the biases that come about in our debates and discussions, and um, be the information layer for collaborative decision making, essentially to cut through the false information and the uh, what do you call them? What do you call I, I I forget the word.
Propaganda.
Yeah, propaganda. I
Fal-
was gonna think just
Fallacies.
fallacies. I was thinking fallacies. Yeah, yeah. Combat fallacies, combat bias. Um, and now these days I take a more epistemic process view of it, which is I see these things as sort of attacks on epistemic processes, and how to create defenses against these attacks, which can help people make up their mind in as clear and unbiased a way as possible, right? We don't use the word truth here very much because I mean, but one of the problems with any of these systems, is trust, right? And we know that Grok can't be trusted, ChatGPT can't be trusted, any information you see online can't be trusted. Certainly, any platform and any moderation of a platform can't be trusted. Any fact checking can't be trusted. Um, and so, a major design goal of the canonical debate was trust, absolute trust. Nothing's absolute, but to get as close to absolute trust as possible. Um, I think that's all I can add right now. I have to go receive my guests and everything. Caio, a gente pode falar em português no futuro, se quiser, a gente pode
E para enganar todo
aprofundar.
mundo, então. Ótimo, maravilha.
Foi uma conversa direta. And yeah, I have a lot of thoughts about the things you said. Let me throw a couple bombs before I go. One, you talked about it connecting all the things people have said ever, and that's very different. That immediately puts a red flag into putting definitions on things, because as we've discussed in this group before, there's the things that were said and then there's the interpretation of the thing that was said, and one thing will have many interpretations, right? So to pick an official one is not always even possible, let alone is always going to be controversial. And we've talked about another problem is how definitions drift over time and tracking the change over time. So when somebody used a word, what was the definition back then as opposed to now?
We had that
We've had
conversation.
design, yeah, we've had these design discussions as well, which is interesting. I'd love to go over those. Also, the last thing is there's a project I came in contact with years ago, and I don't know where it is now, but it was called the Underlay, I think. It was at a major university, so there was support, and they put years into it, and I don't know if it's still going, but its goal was they came to the conclusion that the only thing that you could reliably track or do in this area is track what people said, which is very close to your project. And the idea was to get it was to create a provenance layer on things people said. And that was the only thing they were going to try to track and prove. They weren't going to interpret. They weren't going to do anything else. If you trust what somebody said or not, they imagine that to be another layer on top of any other system. So they called it the underlay, I think, as a way to support other projects. So it was a kind of a provenance trust layer of things people said. So you might want to look for that project.
Last commit 2023, I just checked it. I don't know if the project's alive, but the GitHub isn't.
Yeah. If you haven't heard from it in a couple of years, it's probably not around anymore. But at least might be lessons learned there or something, or people you could
Definitely.
contact. Yeah, people you could contact. Okay, I'm gonna go. Good to see your faces again. Joel, I haven't had time to look in the Discord, so unfortunately I haven't seen all your changes.
That's okay.
But thank you again, once again, for being the engine that moves things forward. See you
Yeah.
guys.
Thank you. Next time I'm
Yeah.
going to explain
yeah.
everything.
Yeah,
This is
I,
the resume.
I'll have AI
I'll send you the
summarize.
white paper reference, Caio. Okay,
Yeah.
ciao, ciao. And I'll
Ciao,
just
muito
channel
prazer.
Tim a bit more. I'll just channel Tim a bit more. It's called the Canonical Debate Lab because one assumption Tim has, which got us motivated for a while, is to have this neutrality and trust he talks about. We should be able to have a single place where we can go and say, hey, this thing I'm saying, it's there. And here are the, support, opposition, counter arguments, whatever, but it's there. There should be a canonical URL or identifier or hash or whatever for
Yeah.
this is this argument. And if there's a version that means essentially the same thing in other words, we should be able to connect them to a single canonical form, which
My
is
my idea
unique.
to do this integration is to uh, I copy the whole conversation, then I post in the NLP, natural language processing, transform it into different points of views in the graph. I organize them with physics. The semantic map it has physics, so it self organizes. The colors differentiate each opinion, and I can post the visually simplified debate that I construct with the graph, and I can post the whole chat in every other social media, so I can call people to see what was told about everything, and they can enter back the graph, talk inside the graph, or post what was said outside the graph inside the graph back. So everybody can take the debate about the topic because semantic map a debate, and everybody can post inside the graph and post the new graph back into any other place on the internet.
Just for the record, you speak about the physics of LLM. I think you're speaking about
So the
embedding
physics of the tree JS, the physics, literal physics, they self-organize with
Like
graphs.
the
let me
layout.
finish.
Yes,
Let me
I'm
finish.
using physics as a layout.
But you're using embeddings, right?
Also,
Yes. What I'm saying is my experiments with embeddings have been very disappointing. I'm kind of the anti-AI person, by the way, in this group. I found that LLMs would often classify contradictory statements with very similar embeddings. There's no way to for example, distinguish negations with embeddings that I could find. And that
I
means
think I think we are
If you
talking
just
about different
use
the AI. Uh, I'm only using AI to develop the project and to
no,
do
but if
NLP.
you're using embeddings, it's an AI, it's it's an AI tool among others.
Yes, yes.
And I'm saying it's the physics of similar self-organization based on embeddings is inadequate, is all I'm saying.
Like
Yes.
where if you had it be like gravity based, then like the same statement and the negation of the statement would be like right next to each other, rather than like I don't know, maybe they're the opposite, so they
They
should be
should be
further away
diametrically
or something.
opposite, but they are not.
They are going to be they're going to be used depends on the type of grammatical class where the statement or the negation is going to be. For example, substantives, they're going to be the note, the main point of the semantic graph. The node is going to have one theory about it, which confirms something in an order that negates it. The there are going to be the positive and the negative affirmations, and each one is going to have a different origin. The point of view that negates it and the point of view that confirms it. I'm going to have both showing at the same time, and they're going to have different colors to differentiate who is talking positively and negatively. And then they're going to become different. They're going to then integrate into the rest of the graph as if they were always the same thing. Only in the specific point of the graph, they're going to be differentiated.
Interesting. I obviously what you're referring to requires uh, NLP parsing, which I'm all for. Are you may be using Spacey for that? Big fan of Spacey. Uh, but it's not what I'm saying is this is not given to you by embeddings. This is it has to be a totally distinct process. And that's something we've thought about how to express each, how to give uh, identity to the concept that is distinct from its expression and that is independent of its expression. We didn't start with the parsing. We're thinking about transforming the statement into a more abstract form. May or may not be, maybe you're achieving that with linguistic based representation, and in which case I'm curious. I know Jack's been looking more at language transformations than I have. I'm more interested in transforming into frames because I think it's easier to do the comparison at the frame level than at the linguistic level. But that's going to be an interesting conversation between us.
So the conversation we had this morning, the subgraph that we were talking about, I'm talking always about subgraph of another subgraph. So this differentiation is going to be that one an affirmation is going to belong to one subgraph of subgraphs that is a
Mhm.
point of view. The other one is going to be exactly in the same place, but represented by another node, which is not a node, is like the center of the edge, but it's going to have another color and belong to another point of view. I have to precisely demonstrate each affirmation of each point of view in each local that they belong to, so I can compare the point of views correctly. So exactly as we were talking about. I couldn't compare opposite ideas without this differentiation. And like I said, the interactive hypergraph needs to be totally interactive inside the graph because I have to take this positive and this negative point and compare both so they can say, for example, that one is not compatible with the other one, and I can criticize if the subgraphs are not compatible. Like I said, I have to compare subgraphs with other subgraphs and even subgraphs with themselves when they have something that another subgraph inside them is contradictory or have another fallacy. And it's basically philosophy and linguistics, and it's complicated. I can't even explain exactly what I'm talking about, but I can see in my mind. And the AI is trying to code.
Do you do you have any like visual designs or prototypes of what you've been envisioning yet or
Yes, like I was talking to Mark in the morning, I was trying to fix the visualization that I had. It was like I have images, but they are completely different from one from the other because they are months apart, and changed the I believe I changed the stack like 2 times, completely, like absolutely completely changed the tree. I changed to uh, React Flow, the
Hmm.
stand to
Hmm.
state to another states based library. I've changed everything. So they are completely different. Even I changed the material UI to, I forgot what I'm using now, but I changed everything. I tried every library I could.
Hmm.
And let me see. I have some photos, but they are not, they don't have the subgraphs. They are not in a hypergraph yet. They had filters for grammatical classes. They had filters for points of views. They had filters for things with critics, with questions, because questions are like a generic, undefined node, and you are asking somebody to complete that place in the graph. This is a question. Critic is when you are showing two incompatible parts of the graph, and you have to point at them and create the critic, and you can criticize the critic when the definitions or the context of the graph you're using changes. So it's not about absolute truths. They're always going to be changing. But let me show you some screenshots.
Oh, exciting.
yeah.
Let's see if I can find it.
By the way, just so you know, this is recorded. We put it online. So if there's stuff you want to keep confidential, we can stop the recording.
No, I don't believe anybody have the courage to copy what I'm doing.
Nice. Nice.
And by the way, I'm totally believe in open source and I don't believe in anything confidential, but some people do, and I just want a fair warning.
Yeah, I want to have some money, but I don't believe somebody's going to, like I said, have the courage to try and steal an idea here, because my ideas, every library that I'm using is free source. Anybody could copy the idea and I've been telling people for 10 years about this. Nobody understood or tried to do anything. So
Amen.
exactly.
I relate. I relate.
Does
How
anyone
can I?
though know the big platforms like Google? They have their own charts. They have their own um, graphs, I should say, and they try to collect as much information as possible. They try to, obviously, behind the scenes, they have their own systems to do this. And I would be really surprised if they didn't have kind of visual aspects to this. Um, I asked because I remember watching shows where people actually did some of these projects, aimed at collecting as much information as possible, and then they were kind of brought up by proprietary interests. And so, and to me, it's just a bit of a black box, a mystery, like as to um, how they store their data and how they make those connections. Because they can do some wizardry when you do a search. Obviously, they must have huge number of connections. I'm not even talking about AI. AI is obviously it's got its neural networks, but yeah, before we even got to that point, they would make lots of connections, like say a few different terms, and they would return a bunch of different kind of connected topics. So yeah, I'd be surprised, I guess, if anyone's across this. They're like, is it possible that this is being done, in a proprietary kind of fashion? It's just not open. Is it possible that it's like these charts have actually already been built? Yeah. Does anyone know? Probably not.
Um,
Does it not make sense what I'm saying?
Uh,
what you're saying makes sense. Um, the there used to be various efforts at semantic web and graph and knowledge graph at Google that I'm aware of, actually. There was, I'm very curious to see where they're at. I know it was when I was at Google for 1 year in 2008, I think. Uh, it was very marginal, and they had to kind of convince the direction that this was a worthwhile thing to do. Um,
Like
and
actually, I've just brought mine like a memory of a tool where they used to provide, where you used to do like a search and you would put a search term in, and it would show you like a bunch of nodes that were related. Yeah, and then you could kind of
yeah,
follow that. That was, and they
Yeah.
obviously dropped that.
Yeah.
But
my
it must be things that they've worked on in the past.
I have
So
strong opinions about Google and semantics. I think it's totally antithetical to their way of doing things. They're very much into the big statistics, machine
uh,
learning. Semantics is not there. They've absorbed all kinds of semantics companies. I think they've sometimes pushed them to a certain point, but mostly let them languish because it's not how they think. Like Google thinks in big data, they don't think in semantic distinctions. Uh, they've they've created schema.org, which was a way to, as far as I'm concerned, embrace, extend, extinguish the RDF world. Schema.org simplified the RDF model to a toxic amount, from my viewpoint. And they got a lot of people to get into that. But semantic.org is good for, products or events or, unambiguous things. But it's got nothing to do on epistemic configuration, considerations or ambiguity or anything of the sort, because that's totally out of their mandate. The closest thing we had for a while was DBpedia, which is also a Google. Sorry, not B. They had DBpedia. They had Wikidata, which was a Google effort. That was the nicest Google generated thing by far. because every statement has provenance. I was astonished that statements have provenance, so statements have an identity, but you couldn't go one level beyond. It was a one-layer hypergraph. And you could make a provenance statement about a statement and nothing else. You couldn't stack that. You couldn't make statements about statements about statements. Artificial limitation for absolutely no good reason, not in the data model, but they made that simplification. But still, you can make statements about statements one layer in Wikidata.
Uh-huh.
And that is a good Google effort. But other than that, they don't grok semantics.
I don't trust them. I think if Google's doing something good, they're doing it for their own reasons.
Google is
Yeah,
doing the one thing I believe capitalism is good about, that is making some generous traps so they can help people initially, and we can try to use them before they use us.
yeah.
Yeah, we have all these examples of enshittification now, and it's like that's probably what you're referring to, where it's like I think where things start off good, and then as the big money becomes more and more prominent, then it all gets turned to crap.
Amen.
I was trying to use a semantic, I believe, interpreter. I don't know exactly what was it, but it was um, uh, an option. I'm using, like I said, Spacey, but I'm using the Hugging Face transformer free use. They let me use an API there. And Google had an option, but it was paid. I don't believe my AI told me Google doesn't give a free trial or free credits to use. So you have to see if they are now giving something. The AI doesn't always give the modern version of the services you try to use, but I believe they have a working service. I don't know if it's exactly this that you asked about.
I'm not sure. I don't know the actual software, but I was just thinking what I have in my head, what you're describing, I've kind of like interpreted possibly that Google must have something similar. Must have, but it's just you never see it. I hear people refer to it, like the Google. Um, what's the term they use? Like graph. You know, they have graphs in the background, but basically, that they run to do to provide their service, their search service. And then I was just thinking the fact that they've done it, and they must have specialists. And I'm just like thinking, well, there must be some um, overlap between what you're working on and what those specialists actually work on. I was just thinking there must be fields of study that actually, are working on this in this subject in this area. But I know nothing about it apart from I
It
just hear people refer to it.
it does seem like something like that wouldn't, or my guess is that it wouldn't be like reasoning or like uncertainty, debatability based, that it would just be like knowledge, for searching. If it's for searching, you don't need to have, a proper visual for all the sides or different opinions and stuff. So I would assume it's just like capturing everything, and just the structure of it
Hmm.
doesn't like lend itself towards
They would rank it though, I
the
imagine.
that would rank.
Yeah, yeah,
Hmm.
they would rank kind of your authenticity, the you know if something's better
Mm.
than something else. I don't yeah. Uh yeah, but yeah, you're right. There's no actual scope for people to go in argue a point for sure, which is where we're at.
Hmm.
There are
Um,
Just
there are some projects that some sites that you can write a whole text and they write a graph, but they are more structured than uh, what I'm trying to do. I mean, they have like the MindMeister, the standard map Drago structure of mind maps. They can take your whole input and transform into an AI, but they don't go beyond like 3 degrees of uh 3 degrees beyond the focal the what do you call the main node of the graph. I don't believe anybody did the things you are trying to do or you're asking.
oh, I just thought it was a possibility. I thought it was, you might find areas of overlap.
It's possible, but
People that are working in the area.
what they are doing now is the limit of the singular mind map, the individual mind map. I don't believe in individual mind maps because people don't want to define what everybody else thinks about anything. They want to just put the words and want everything to be correctly connected in the definitions and the informations about the context, the basically everything about the word they put in the graph, they want to simply appear there. And I don't see another way but to do something like what I'm doing, which is like everybody defines what they believe, everybody criticizes everything, and the one thinks that everybody votes and has more votes and zero critics is going to become the standard. And when you put the word, that standard definition is going to be used automatically, which is like what I'm trying to do in my project. So I don't believe, I don't know if this is what are trying to do, but the closest thing I believe can be done today.
Oh, uh, sorry, Dave. I was interested also in hearing about your experience of moving from AI to an employee.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, I just I I did do a short-term freelance. It was like Upwork, so I tried that out just because, well, I guess basically I had certain goals for myself. Like so you plan, you spread your tickets out month by month, and you're like, okay, I'm gonna get these done this month, these done next month, and
Yeah,
then I was like, I just kept on moving everything to the next month. Oh, okay, now everything's going to the next month, and I
I
have a
relate.
full-time job, so I was like, well, if I was spending all the hours that I'm working full time, to devote to this, I could be making so much more progress because it's just like a fraction of the amount of time. And I'm like, and then, I start getting really impatient. And I was thinking, well, I could quit my job and just devote my time to this. But then I was like, that's probably not advisable. So I just thought, well, I could pay somebody else to do it. If I paid, someone else some of the money I'm getting from my job to do it, it could be a short-term thing and I could still retain my job and maybe get um get stuff done with that, get stuff done quicker. And ultimately, yeah, the person that I'm finished wrapping up working with, um is a very competent developer, and but it is a little bit funny because I mean, because they're using AI to help them, and
Yep.
then I want to review all their code, and so it's like I am getting a lot more done, this last month than other months. But, is it ultimately worth it? I don't know. I mean, I have a lot, normally I'm reviewing like I'm doing a lot of my own coding and then reviewing some code that have AI do, or whatever. And now I'm basically there's a middleman. I mean, and this guy, he knows what he's doing as well, but yeah, it makes it a little less efficient because the middleman and I have to, give feedback to him, and then and it's not as quick as if I'm directly even talking to AI because I have to be like, okay, here are my comments on the code, and and then have another kind of iteration of it. But ultimately, it is at
Was he
least making
cheaper?
progress. I mean, it is
Was he
making
cheaper than your what? Yeah, is
well.
how much of a dent in your finances is
It's, a few
that?
$1,000s or whatever. I just budgeted aside some money and it's like yeah, I guess yeah. uh, And
Well, that's so for how long? Like a month or so?
yeah.
Was it? Well, that's pretty that's good.
Yeah, yeah. Or it's like yeah. Yeah, it's not a bad I mean, there's also a lot of people and I can only speak to the one person I've worked with on there, but it's been overall I think overall positive, even though, uh, yeah, even though it's like things always go slower than you think, or just problems are always more complicated than you think. But overall, I feel like at least I don't, you know, I was worried that I'd get somebody who doesn't really know what they're doing, or also it's tough when you're usually if my company were to hire somebody, the first month would be just ramping up
Onboarding. Yeah,
onboarding and getting
yeah.
up to speed with like, okay, the code base and whatnot. And so yeah, so it's kind of going better than one could expect in some ways, all things considered. But it is, uh, yeah, it is like a little indirect, and it's, when you compare that price to how much you would pay AI, it's it's not,
That's
it's just,
that's a tricky part though, isn't it? Because at the end of the day, what I'm finding with AI is
yeah,
just you still have to go over and check it. I mean,
yeah,
and
yeah.
sometimes you have these great wins, and then there's been times when I'm just like spending so much time just trying to unwind a
Yeah,
mess, a problem.
and I have a lot of cases where I'm using AI to bounce ideas off of, right, and give second opinions,
Yeah,
and and at some point you're kind of curious, like, oh, I wonder if a human would give me different advice or what a human would say, even though I appreciate AI's opinions on things, but yeah, you're kind of isolated when you're just like working on your own, and you start really
but
being like, oh, I wish
technically
there
the
was
AI
someone else
is.
here, a human.
I mean, the AI is taking stuff from humanity, right?
Yeah,
So in
well,
a way, it's human. If
It's
yeah,
appropriating the commons. It's appropriating the knowledge commons and
yes,
actually short-circuiting the paths through which we enrich the commons.
yes, could have
Uh,
long-term.
comments?
The commons.
Oh, the commons. Oh, okay. I see. I see.
well, I've got to head out, but this has been good, and I'll see you guys next time then, I guess.
Yeah, thanks for
Bye.
your work on
Thanks, Joe.
everything. I am excited about the possibility of the group kind of expanding, and yeah, it would be nice to have more opportunities to kind of network and there's yeah, it'd be cool to someday go to like a collaborative reasoning conference, or whatever, you know what I mean?
The
That
Yeah,
would be
conference.
sweet.
right now, Caio, we meet once a month, which is not enough. We want to expand that with more topic-specific conversations, but this is work in progress. But you just stumbled on the right day to meet some of the core group today, and I'm glad you came. Thanks for coming. I'll also head
All
out.
right. See you then.
Leave it there.
All
Thanks,
right.
guys.
Yep. I
Thank
guess
See
you.
ya.
yep. Have a good one. I'll probably head out
But
myself
at
here.
least now you're on the Discord, and we can continue the conversation there.